DNVR Draft Pod. We are doing it.
Yes, sir.
What the heck is up, my man?
Let's go, bro.
It's been a minute,
It
huh?
has been. I'm hyped.
I am too. I'm very excited. We are about to enter an all-time great stretch of football.
Mm-hmm.
A stretch of football that guys like us, guys like producer Riley, were literally bred for.
Yeah.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Mm-hmm.
Playoff football, college, NFL, load on up. And that's what we're doing as we talk about the future of the sport we love so much, the future of the Buffs you love so much, the future of the Broncos we love so much, and so much more on college football and the NFL. We do our thing. It's the Draft Pod. As always, not in the Toyota studio, but come join us in the Toyota chat. I wanna hear some of our usuals, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, let's start though with those Buffs, Jake, because we have a draft order. By golly,
Yep.
the first 18 picks are locked in, and the top of the draft's a bit weird. It's I don't think this worked out for Shedeur and Travis in an ideal scenario.
No, not ideal for us as Broncos fans, and I don't think ideal for them in terms of where they would like to go if they could pick.
Because I think the Giants seem like a really nice situation for Shedeur, especially the relationship with neighbors. I think the continuity with Dable in the front office is appealing.
Yep.
Andrew Thomas. I mean, potentially you have your franchise left tackle and your franchise number one wide receiver and a pretty good play caller at least locked in. I don't know that Callahan and the Titans have the same appeal, and then the Browns are an absolute train wreck. I wouldn't let any of my loved ones or friends near that situation, you know?
I wouldn't either, and I don't think Coach Prime would as well.
I mean, that sounds smart. They could, yeah, that is just a disastrous situation. You do have a very good play caller in Kevin Stefanski. Everything else, though.
And GM. Andrew Berry's, he's been there for a minute.
Yeah. And his track record's been half decent. What are your vibes on how that's going to shake out, where Shedeur goes, starting there?
So, I don't know. I'm kind of torn at this point because it's two lines of thinking, and it's the traditional two lines of thinking when it comes to every draft. Do you draft the best player available, or do you draft your biggest need, which is quarterback for Tennessee? There's never going to be another Travis Hunter available. So I totally understand them going that route and just figuring out quarterback later. But this is a franchise who kind of in disarray now. I think sneakily one of the worst franchises over the last however many years, basically since Steve McNair, really. I think this is coming into their fourth consecutive season without continuity, either head coach or GM.
Yeah.
They've rotated them the last 4 years. So gun to my head, I think they draft Shedeur Sanders.
You do, huh? Of course, the early reports were that the Titans were in on Cam Ward, and that general manager, since that report came out, no longer with the team. So lots going on. I do think the top three could be very fluid, with the Giants there at 3, trying to jostle their way in.
Well, and this is what I think too, with what we just said about Cleveland, and I think how a lot of people view them as one of, if not the worst franchises in the NFL since they've been brought back to Cleveland.
Yeah. I mean, that record speaks for itself.
if Coach Prime and Travis and Shedeur make it clear that they don't want to play for the Browns, immediately I think the number 2 pick becomes a hot commodity because they can easily trade out of that for a haul. And I think there's plenty of teams who would be interested in grabbing either of those 2 guys.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting how the interest in quarterbacks progresses from here until April. Because everyone's super low on the QBs, but no one would have expected 6 quarterbacks in the top 12 last year.
Right.
Not even in early April, forget in January, So I think there's still a lot to happen.
What do you think Tennessee does?
I think they take a quarterback. I think they have to.
That's how I feel.
With retaining Callahan, it really is like, okay, you got to take a quarterback.
Oh, and then RK brought this up on the Buffs pod earlier this week. My big comp for Shedeur is Joe Burrow. With Callahan coming from Cincinnati, if he sees what I see in Shedeur, I think it's slam dunk.
100%. But then the question is, can they get Shedeur bought into that?
Yeah.
And put a team that you feel good about,
That team needs a lot of work at this point.
They do. They really do. And then, I wouldn't touch the Browns, though we've got Mr. Braxton in the Toyota chat making the point that from a football perspective, the Browns might be the best fit. And it's true. That Stefanski offense gets some rollouts going, Jerry Jeudy came around. I mean, the O-line has looked promising at different points. I still think the Giants, though,
I think
are right there. And I think a team in a market like New York, I think Shedeur is slightly more appealing.
I agree. I think he would
because
thrive
of his
there.
media savviness, and how he handles things.
I'm not giving up on Brian Dable. I think just look at what he's done, his time in Buffalo, just calling plays, designing scheme. I think that
got Daniel Jones paid.
Exactly. Like if he did that with Daniel Jones, I think he could do a lot more with Shedeur Sanders. I mean, of course, Neighbors is there. I do think you need to get another pass catcher or 2 at least.
Yeah. I mean, you gotta add weapons for sure.
Yeah, they need a running back. But I like how this defense is set up too. I mean, they've really invested a lot of first-round picks recently in that defensive front. They made the trade for Brian Burns.
Well, Dexter Lawrence becoming like one of the top interior D linemen in the NFL is huge.
I think it's a really good situation for a rookie quarterback.
I do too. I think if Andrew Thomas can just stay healthy.
That too, yeah.
Like having your franchise left tackle and your franchise number 1 receiver is a really nice starting block. That's a really nice core to start building around.
It's a lot more than most teams who just draft a quarterback. It's more than Denver had.
Damn
bringing
straight.
Bo Nixon.
Is Travis Hunter then the first just non-QB taken, do you think? I mean, again, the Pats at 4 seems like a nice situation for him, depending on who they hire and what have you.
Jacksonville.
We've kind of talked about that. Jacksonville being like the hometown team at 5. I'm not super sure how he gets past 3, though. Again, lots needs to be figured out with these quarterbacks.
And so I'm saying, I think a trade up like Carolina, with what you've seen from Bryce Young in the last 6 weeks of the NFL season, if there's an opportunity to trade up and get yourself a Travis Hunter
at 8 overall, no doubt. Yeah, and I mean, it's not the worst consolation prize if you're the Giants or Browns either.
Yeah.
Let's play this game real quick. Milroe, Ewers, Drew Allar. Who's the NFL buy into the most, and who do you believe in the most of those 3?
I think the NFL buys into Drew Allar.
Wow.
What do you think?
Yeah, no, I mean, you might be right. I watch him and I'm like, dang. There's a lot of J.J. McCarthy.
Yes.
There's a lot of J.J. McCarthy. There's also a decent amount of like Daniel Jones.
Yes.
He's terrifying to me. It's also crazy that him and Ewers still have potentially 2 more games to prove themselves.
Yeah.
And what an opportunity that is compared to years past.
Yep, definitely.
I mean, just last time we did this pod, like they've had some massive opportunities to help their stock thus far.
I think the guy I like the most though is Jalen Milroe.
Yeah, same. And I mean, Ewers is what a crazy experience watching Ewers.
Yeah.
But he still pulls off like 2 throws a game
I
that
know.
get me to be like, oh, I don't know, maybe I am still in on Ewers.
And I think he's kind of had his development a little disrupted a bit at Texas too. He's battled injuries, the arch thing.
And it's weird, Jake. Like, in a lot of ways, I want to give him credit for becoming more of a system quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
For becoming more of like a mild, I'll just take what you give me.
Yeah.
But for his draft stock, it maybe would be more helpful if he just was a bit more of a reckless gunslinger.
Right.
You know?
Right.
But it's almost like because he's not a reckless gunslinger, then when he makes those boneheaded mistakes, it's like, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's lowered his he just looks like way more normal and average.
I mean, that pick against Arizona State late was like one of the worst throws of his career.
Totally. And then that touchdown in the back of the end
Yeah, I
zone, it's
know.
like, shoot.
I know.
Like, where was this guy?
Yeah.
So no, it's really crazy. Any other big takeaways from the top 18 picks in this draft that are locked in? Let me ask you this. Chances Tyler Warren drops to the 20s?
I think higher than a lot of people think.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. Because I think these playoffs and the Bowers breakout has really elevated his stock to where I'd be quite surprised. I'm at this point with him, and I've said this earlier in the season about Genty. I think I would be more surprised to see him, quote unquote, drop to the 20s than I would to see him go top 10.
Okay.
Now, the teens is probably right. You split the difference. That's probably more of
Right.
where he goes, but that just shows where I think he could go right now is, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But Brock Bowers is way more of an outlier than he is the trend of drafting first round tight ends.
No doubt.
So,
No doubt about it.
I mean, we all love what Tyler Warren does, the versatility and all that.
Yeah.
Brock Bowers was the speed he had, the hands he had, how he performed in the blocking game. I still think he's a couple tiers above what Tyler Warren was as a prospect.
3 years of absurd production in the SEC. It's one of those guys who's lost like one game his entire career.
Mm-hmm.
But there was the size stuff with Bowers.
Yeah, little thin.
I mean, Warren's huge.
He is. So is
Warren's
Colston Loveland.
huge.
He's tall at least.
Yeah,
I should
he's
say.
tall. No, you're right. I just think the tight ends might have a bit more juice than in years past because, it's a trendy league.
It is.
It's always like that.
But it's also a trenches and quarterback league. And I think that,
Yeah.
we always see
And I
the
think it's
quarterbacks and
becoming
those guys
more
go
of a
higher.
like wide receiver league too.
And that too, which
This is the point of the draft process where everyone's just sleeping on the wideouts,
mhm.
and then we're shocked to see like 5 go around 1.
Yeah, we this is the time of year where we forget that in a month and a half, all someone has to do is run a 4.27, and they're in the first round conversation.
Yes, Xavier Worthy not seen as a first rounder at this point in the draft process last year, and then that all switched really quickly. We're gonna get into more Broncos specific talk, more options at 20, these tight ends, and all the latest risers from the playoffs on the other side. After telling you about Coors Light, look, an elite stretch of the year, like all the great football we have coming up, whether you're at the DMVR bar or enjoying from your couch or at a friend's house or any other of the multitude of places you can be while enjoying just the riches and beauty of this sport we love so much. There's no better way than to do it while choosing chill with a fresh, crisp, delicious Coors Light. Treats you right, digestible. You can put down a couple. It's just the best. No better way than to choose chill and just enjoy this elite time of year with an elite beer. that's Colorado through and through, just like us, just like our show and our first segment, right? Right,
Yep.
Jake? Even with the draft, we're Colorado through and through. That's Coors Light for you. Yeah, it was recently my guy AJ was in town. Caught up with him in the bar.
Mm-hmm.
Nice Coors Light, end of the day. Perfection.
Nothing better.
Choose chill this winter and reach for a Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door. Visit CoorsLight.com/DNVR. Or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. That's damn straight. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. And of course, we're going to get into our picks for the national semis. I'm going to be doing a little Broncos content the next couple days.
Yeah, let's go.
All of that, Bet365. That's right, baby. They know what they're doing over at Bet365. They're true homies. You use our code, DNVR365, the only betting app where you can do that, the only betting app where you can find our custom bets. And I know the Broncos guys are cooking up a crazy parlay. Sending that email out to our good friends at Bet365 as soon as we are done with this show. And would you believe it? Download the Bet365 app, use our code DNVR365, deposit $10, place a bet of $5 or more, and get $150 in bonus bets. Win, lose, or draw on that first bet. You just got to place it, and bang, they take care of you. They're just the best. They're the homies. Must be 21 plus, physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. And also, I cannot wait for all the draft props to start coming out and filling up.
Oh, man.
It's an elite time of year.
It's just our time, bro.
It really is. Broncos right now, I'm seeing anywhere between the 20th and 21st pick. That's the range. Of course, if they were to upset the Bills, they would be closer to the mid-20s, which certainly possible. They have put themselves in the 20s, though. Had they lost to the Chiefs, they could have been in the teens. But no, not anymore. So it's a completely different range for us of the draft to be looking at. And who would be on your early wish list for the Broncos drafting in this range, Jakester?
We've talked a lot about this, and I think there's a general shift with us, J-Mike included, and the fan base for defensive line in the first round.
Yeah. And some of those games in that late stretch made me feel like that even more.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So I look at a guy like, he is going nuclear right now with his draft stock, but Mike Green.
Oh, Mike Green. Tell the people who Mike Green is, because he's not a household name just yet. He will be soon. He will be soon.
He is
I was talking to our All-City homies and trying to get some film. It sounds like the man, the myth, the legend, Adam Hogue has his Ohio State tape.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
But he had 23 tackles for a loss and 17 sacks this year. He plays for Marshall, 84 total tackles as well. He's got a lot in his bag. Bendy, speed to power, great use of his hands, and just dominated the level that he played at. I think he's probably, if I had to guess, if the draft happened tomorrow, he's probably around the Broncos range at this point. But I think with a big combine performance, plus just the rest of the process to go, this guy could go all the way up to top 15-ish.
Because he wears number 15 and because of his play style and size, he reminds me a lot of Nick Bonito.
I love it.
Like a lot. Is that the direction to go, though?
So what would you say? Like a weapon for Bo?
No, good question. Is a pure, like, more of a finesse speed edge rusher what these Broncos need if they go D-line, or is it more of a Kenneth Grant who would be on my wish list?
Yeah.
Or even more of a Shamar Stewart, the Texas defensive lineman who's like a bigger 270-poundish defensive end, but maybe in the Broncos scheme is more of a 5-tech, in that 3-man line. And would add a lot of dynamicism to that to that 3-man front and just a devastating rotation with him, Zach Allen, and JFN, or an old favorite like a Landon Jackson, who has a similar profile, the Arkansas edge rusher who's kind of quietly made his way back up the board. Or a show favorite, Deion Walker, the nose tackle from Kentucky.
Yeah.
It's a nice defensive line. It's a nice front 7 class. So there's actually a decent amount of guys to choose from here.
My guy, Walter Nolan out of Ole Miss, and his teammate, Princely Umanamillan.
Yep.
There's a lot of options, and I do think that's a good question that you asked. Like, I think that ideally you would want another defensive tackle. I think what Benito and Cooper have done on the edge is definitely enough, and it gives you hope for the future for sure because of how young they are.
And Ellis, Drew Sanders coming back,
Yeah. And they're going to have money this offseason too.
Yep.
I think that that's what you should do at this point, man. I mean, that's what Sean Payton's MO is, right? Is winning in the trenches, especially on the offensive side of the ball. But look at how this defensive line has like changed the trajectory of this team this season. Just add strength to strength.
Yeah, and I think the best argument you can make for defensive line, one argument we've made in the past when drafting Kenneth Grant in our mock, is, obviously, I mean, this really helps in defeating Patrick Mahomes, and it means taking up one extra offensive lineman, which forces you into 1-on-1s against Cooper and Benito on the outside, against Zach Allen, or even 1-on-nones, like you've got a nose tackle that takes up 2 guys and you're bringing 5. The O-line suddenly doesn't have the numbers to block everyone 1-on-1. What we haven't talked about is like the Chargers.
Right.
And that Michigan style football Harbaugh's got them playing over there. And, how do you go blow to blow with guys like that is you strengthen in the trenches and you hunker down and you're able to get after it and impose yourself and stop the run and get pressure on Herbert and all that kind of stuff.
And with the Raiders, too, who probably are going to make a move for a quarterback, I would imagine at this point, whether it's free agency or the draft, just make that new guy's life hell.
Damn straight. Absolutely. Yeah, so I do think that is a consideration, and it's the only defensive consideration. I think there could be an argument for an off-ball linebacker. You've got some decent ones in this class. Could be an argument for a safety. It's a really nice safety class.
Jahdae Barron, I think, would fit nicely in this defense just in terms of how versatile he is and how
Texas corner, yes.
Versatile the Broncos secondary is right now. I mean, when you have a guy like Pat, you can afford to just load up on these versatile guys and mix and match wherever you can fit them.
Yeah. I worry he would take some Jaquan touches away, but I mean, George Payton teaches us you can never have enough depth in the secondary, especially in the modern NFL, no doubt. Jose dropping a bomb in the Toyota chat saying Raiders seem like the Kirk Cousins destination.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah, I guess that would fit the Brady influence mold. Just an old immobile guy, noodle armed, And then 5280 Ivan C asking what are the odds Cam Ward goes off the board before 2. Currently, Bet365 has Ward as the slight favorite at -130, Shedeur at +100.
Nice.
Travis all the way up +1,000. Which I bought big like in the summer. Sadly, it won't happen. But
what, Travis +1,000?
Going first overall.
I think it could still happen.
I mean, I do too. I just think how the draft order shook out and just it's such a quarterback obsessed league.
It is, and this is, I mean,
it's kind of annoying.
If there's anything we learned from last year, watching 6 of them go in the top 12 or whatever it was, this is not a quarterback class even close to last year's.
No.
I do think that, Cam and Shedeur are locks, right? I'm excited to see what Jackson Dart, what happens to him this cycle.
Senior Bowl.
He could be a massive
huge riser. Yes. And again, I really believe Ewers and Aller have 2 games where they just go off.
Sure.
And like, it doesn't matter what's happened the rest of their careers. That's all that's going to matter. And I think just as I'm talking about Tyler Warren and some of the tight ends are going to feel that Brock Bowers bump, I think a guy like Dylan Gabriel could easily feel the Bo Nix bump.
Absolutely.
Easily, Jake.
Yeah.
And he's a Parcells rule guy through and through.
He's not as athletic as Bo, but he has a lot of the similar,
a smidge smaller, too.
but a lot of the similar characteristics.
Yeah. Riley, would you bring up Jose's question in the Toyota chat up again? Because it's a good one. Jose knows ball. Jose knows ball. Just as we're talking about the defensive trenches, if you know anything about Sean Payton, he's big on making the O-line a strength. It's obviously paid huge dividends this season for the Broncos, and I think keeping on investing there would not hurt. Could center be a surprise day one? Jose asks. Considering the value Sean Payton places on the interior offensive line. Not that Wattenberg has been awful, but I do think now when Garrett Bowles wasn't re-signed, I thought I had my eye big time on the O-line being a potential round one priority. I think you'll see some O-linemen drafted this year. It probably is more of an interior guy. It's not the greatest center class. Jared Wilson, Georgia, Brailsford, Alabama. Though, were you the one telling me he was coming back or something?
I thought I saw that.
Jonah Monheim from USC has got some buzz. Gray Zabel from North Dakota State kind of plays all over. He could play center. It's got some buzz.
Yes, Brailsford is returning to Alabama.
Okay, I thought as much. Bryce Foster, Kansas, an underrated guy. Locally, Jacob Gardner had quietly 2 very good seasons at CSU. So if it's that group, no, definitely not. If it's a Will Campbell, the LSU left tackle, who has some shorter arms and probably will not be drafted at tackle, and I think some coaches will consider moving to the interior. And frankly, he looks like he could play center to me. In fact, he gives me, you remember Ethan Pochich, the LSU center? Similar, tall guy, short arms, but he played center. Campbell reminds me a lot of that kid. Drafted by the Seahawks, I want to say. Don't know if he ever stuck. Now we're talking. Could it be a Tyler Booker, the top graded guard out of Alabama, and then your plan is to slip him inside? Potentially. Could it be a Donovan Jackson, who I freaking love, the left guard?
Nasty.
Didn't like him as a guard, but then all the injuries Ohio State had on the O-line, they had to force him and play him at left tackle. He's been awesome. Absolutely awesome. So if we're talking those candidates, okay, maybe. And we have seen this from Sean Payton before.
I was about to say.
Andrus Pete, right? They're drafting Stanford's left tackle when they're set at tackle, and then they put him inside at guard. I remember they drafted the A&M guard or center a couple years.
Right, yeah. Eric McCoy.
Eric McCoy, yes. When it was the O-line's already a strength for this team. So it wouldn't surprise me necessarily. I think that's a ball knowers call out by Jose. And then, of course, tight end, wide receiver, running back, I still think in the mix. So Mary Hampton would certainly be high on my wish list, as would Emeka Egbuka, who every time I watch him, I'm just like, yeah.
I know, he's having a moment right now, too.
He's such a perfect Bronco. And he fits that mold of those guys who have experience playing in the slot, then blowing up once they go to the NFL. Justin Jefferson, Cooper Kupp. I'm forgetting another big one.
A.J. Brown played in the slot a lot at Ole Miss.
It's a really good quality to have.
Jose's comment, Cesar Ruiz. Remember that one?
Yes.
I don't think many people saw him as a first-round draft pick at all. But Sean Payton, just doing Sean Payton things, investing in the trenches and the offensive line, it was kind of similar to the McCoy pick, I think, which came a few years after, I believe. But either way, Cesar Ruiz, he was just like, well, we need a center. Let's just take this guy. Dallas did the same thing with, what's his name? Yeah.
Cooper Beebe? No.
The Travis Frederick.
Yes.
They did the same thing with him.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's, Dallas example is a great one because they still feel that Bill Parcells influence from years back. We'll get into a couple more wish list guys for the Broncos, and we'll talk some of the standouts from this first 2 rounds of the college football playoffs. On the other side here, where, of course, man, days like this, snows in Denver, you are lucky. It is such a vibe. It's especially a vibe if you're riding in a Toyota, taking advantage of the 4-wheel drive, the all-wheel drive, trucks, SUVs. They're part of Toyota's DNA. It's what they do. It is the perfect family car. It's the perfect car to get lost in the mountains with, go on a road trip, and just enjoy life. You want to talk vibes. That's the vibe right there. Toyota, of course, offers 17 models with available all-wheel drive or 4-wheel drive, like the Epic 4Runner. They also have a ton of zero-emission vehicles combined with hybrids and what have you. I mean, those of us around here who drive a Toyota, especially on days like this, boy, we love it. We could not be happier with it. Visit your Front Range Toyota stores at a location near you. AutoNation Toyota in Arapahoe and Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson Toyota East in Aurora, and Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota, the official automotive partner of the NFL and the official vehicle of DNVR. Let's go places. Schwan, man, I'm a little stuffed up. Would you mind telling the good people about what we are doing for this Broncos game this weekend and where we'll be?
This is going to be an all-time weekend, an all-time day at the DMVR bar on Sunday. First Broncos playoff game in the history, in the existence of DMVR/BSN. Is that correct?
True, so true.
I mean,
BSN, we got Super Bowl 50.
Okay.
DMVR, certainly.
But just, I mean, this is literally going to be a historical weekend for us, and I think for the Broncos as well, because I do think they're going to take it to the Buffalo Bills and give them a game. But come hang out, man. Get here early. We're the early kickoff game at 11 a.m. So, shoot, I don't even know how early I'm going to get. I might get here earlier than I got here for work this week for the Broncos game on Sunday.
That's exactly right.
But it's going to be an absolute blast. I think they're doing the pregame show. Was it Todd, Noshawn, Jarrell, Ryan, and Henry? All-star cast. It's going to be a lot of fun. I cannot wait. Just come hang out, man. Crush some Coors Lights and some Breck brews with us. It's going to be a great time.
Damn straight. RG's going to be in the building. It's just going to be incredible. Usual draft experts in our chat. In the Toyota chat, just real ball knowers. Tom Telesco's burner going off on us. I'm a philosophy minor.
Hell yeah, I didn't know that.
But doesn't it make sense now?
It does. I love it.
Like philosophy, the draft, only the ignorant speak with such conviction when they know that it's an imperfect science. It's people evaluating people. If you think you know exactly what you're doing, then congratulations on being wrong is all I'll say. Got to keep an open mind. Closed minds, they don't go anywhere in this business. I'll tell you that much. So
look up the Dunning-Kruger effect.
Oh man, you tell the people.
The Dunning-Kruger effect is it's like a parabola, right? So we'll start at 0 here. Let me get it on camera. We'll start at 0 here, and it goes like this up to 100. So when you start here, it's basically when you enter any trade or field, right? You get interested in it, and you start to pick up on it, and you start to think that, oh, I already got this. But as you actually learn more about whatever field, trade, NFL draft, for example, you start to realize how little you know, but this is also your confidence going down with it, right? So you start off with this high confidence and what you think is high knowledge, but then that confidence begins to drop off as you learn more, and it just slowly creeps back up to where some actually do become an expert and know more than most people. But one thing I've learned with the NFL draft is, one, it's constantly evolving. Two, we're never going to learn everything about it. And what you said, I love this. It's people evaluating people, the most inexact science that there possibly could be.
I mean, truly. All I know is that I know nothing. Shout out Socrates. And then we've got Reef cracking me up in the Toyota chat saying, the ball must be known by thy.
I was a philosophy guy too in high school and college. This makes so much sense now.
It's amazing. Yeah, no, it's that's what we do. We philosophize about football on the show, really. Jakester, anyone else on your wish list? Because you started with Mike Green, and then I ended up listing like 20 names.
I know. Number one guy is Cam Skattebo. Get this guy to Denver, Colorado.
Wow. Let's talk Skattebo, because it sounds like the NFL mixed bag.
Sure. Is it because he's a white running back?
It could be. The concerns I'm hearing most is that he plays like a 240-pound running back at 225, and that there's concerns over the long speed. Which also is like, if you have concerns over the long speed at running back,
I do not care.
You don't know ball.
No, Javonte Williams is the starting running back for the Denver Broncos.
Also, I swear he's broken off a lot of...
He does.
Long ones. His power contact balance... My. And the versatility.
The versatility is the thing.
And I have always said, if you're a running back who has a real impact as a receiver out the backfield, you have significantly raised your ability to work out at the next level. My comp for him has always been pre-leukemia, pre-cancer James Conner at Pitt.
I love that.
Those who remember know what a beast he was. James Conner currently playing in the mid 230s, so about 8 to 10 pounds heavier than Skattebo. But still, I think, I see a path where he could be a really good player. I think he's closer to being a top 100 prospect than like a day 3 guy.
100%. I think he's going to be a high day 2 pick. I'll just say I think he'll be a second rounder. He kind of has some like Javonte to him from UNC. That contact balance, that toughness, that finishing through contact, and just the will.
Complete profile.
And the complete profile. People forget how effective Javonte was. I mean, you're seeing it now for the Broncos, right? I mean, what's he got? Like damn near 60 receptions this year. Yeah. But he was a monster in the screen and receiving game for the Tar Heels when he was in college. And they had Michael Carter, who was the quote-unquote speed scat back guy.
Right. Great point.
So I would just love to see what Sean Payton would do with Cam Skattebo.
No doubt. That's a good one.
Let's go to wide receiver. I'm going to say it again. My guy, Savion Williams, bro.
Tell him. He's such a Bronco.
I can't remember
if
we talked about this on the show or if I was just talking to you about this. I want the Broncos to be the most versatile offense in the NFL now.
Yes.
With what Bo has shown, with what Sean Payton has shown in his career in New Orleans,
with what Mims has been doing,
and exactly with what Mims has turned into, you have a big receiver in Cortland Sutton. You got that figured out.
You do.
Add some speed, add more versatility, and get yourself a solid running back. So guys like Savion Williams,
tell the people who don't know who Savion Williams is.
An absolute monster. He is like, I think 6'4", 6'5", 6'5", 212 pounds.
My God.
Plays wide receiver at TCU. You look at the stats and it's like kind of, 60 receptions, only 611 yards and 6 touchdowns, but also has 51 rushing yards or 51 attempts for 322 rushing yards and 6 touchdowns. He does everything for them. Plays some wildcat. He'll take some handoffs and a big body to play receiver. So I would just cash in on the versatility.
Upside cat.
100%.
Any other name you wanted to throw out there?
I threw out Jahdae Barron earlier at cornerback.
That's a good one. And he's played phenomenally well. I mean, his playoffs have really been impressive. One guy, when answering Jose about the interior O-lineman options, Jonas Avenea, if we're talking versatility and like a power profile, he's played all over the line for Arizona the last couple years, mostly at right tackle last season, but I think he's a guy who you project to move inside, and his versatility and his power profile and his range, like, right around the early 20s would be a nice get.
Ooh, I got another guy.
As another guy worth considering, please.
We were talking tight ends. What I've seen from Gunnar Helm, the Texas tight end in the college football playoff. Colorado kid. If they don't go tight end in the first round, which I 100% agree with, that's fine by me. Gunnar Helm is a guy I would definitely target.
Such a great tight end class. Him and Terrence Ferguson, the two natives, would be great. Jake Brenningstool, the Clemson tight end. I'll be watching Mitchell Evans, the Notre Dame cat. There is a lot of talent beyond the top guys, Fannin, Warren.
How high do you think
Loveland.
Fannin goes?
He's fascinating. I think he needs a good 40. And like his long speed is probably the most average part of his game. Where he really stands out is his cuts, his hands, his ability to stretch out away, his contact balance after the run, But yeah, because he's more of a receiving tight end, I think he needs to, put up an eye-opening time. And that's something I'm not sure he's going to be able to pull off.
That's fair.
And maybe if I was him, I just wouldn't run.
I mean, I totally get it from that perspective these days.
I mean, that's what Bowers did, right?
Yeah.
He measured in small. He got roasted because standing next to Gronkowski and like casual wear, he just looked like a guy. It's the guy going to get $1.50 glizzy at Costco, And then wide receiver, man, this class is so stacked. You can
It
wait
really
because the
is.
Savion Williamses of the world, the Tez Johnsons, the Kyron Lacey's, the Jaden Higgins, the Nick Nash's, the Xavier Restrepos, the Ja'Cory Brookses, they're all going to be there
LaJohntay
later.
Wester.
Also.
If you want a true slot, that guy is open every single time he's on the football field.
I like him a lot. I think Jimmy Horn could be a perfect fit. Jack Beck, the other TCU guy, the LSU transfer. So look, you don't need to waste premium resources to find your
Kobe Hudson from UCF. I mean, I don't think he was able to show exactly what he was capable of this year too.
Jalen Royals at Utah State. I love him. I mean, I'd gamble on Torrey Horton
for
coming
sure.
back healthy.
Absolutely.
If my staff is telling me he's good. Jordan Tyson, could he declare? Who knows?
He's coming back.
He is, okay.
Yeah, he said he's going back.
Great call by him. I think he'd go very high next year. Other playoff standouts, Jake. Does Genty's game do anything for you as far as lowering his stock?
His stock? No.
Okay.
You
still think he's comfortably a top 12 pick?
100%.
I do too.
I think he'll be a top 10 pick, honestly.
I do as well.
He is what he is. I mean, you could say he's slightly undersized, I guess, for the position, but it's part of what makes him so great is that low center of gravity, that contact balance.
Yeah. Good luck tackling a fire hydrant. Like I would have wanted to do that.
Yeah.
Travion Henderson. Talk Skattebo. But boy, has he impressed me in this playoff run.
Yep.
And maybe it's reactionary, but I am at a point where it's like, man, maybe I do just like him more than Quinshon Judkins.
Look, man, Travion,
and I'm a big Judkins guy. Like, I think that dude's awesome.
For sure. What Travion did as a true freshman, I think people forget about. Just bursts onto the scene as a true freshman. Only 183 carries, 1,248 yards rushing, 15 touchdowns, and still had 27 receptions and 4 touchdowns in the passing game. I can't remember what happened to him. I think it was a bad knee injury or something that he had to have surgery for, and then
he had like a down couple years, which I think is part of why they added Judkins in the transfer portal. Yeah,
but he's real nice.
He's really nice. I I love the speed. I love the contact balance. I love the versatility. And I love that he's just breaking off big plays. Speaking of RB2s on team, how about Keytron Allen, huh? I mean, Nick Singleton is Keytron Allen. That's a guy who downhill, just a phenomenal runner. And I know we got a question earlier about, what about Estime? Look, we're still high on Estime. We know how young he is. He was also a 6th round pick, right? Like a 6th round pick should never prevent you from adding talent at his position.
I think it's clear the Broncos have to get better at running back. They have to run the ball better. Just have to.
Anyone who wants to debate that, I mean, yeah, just
I would be fine if
go
they
in the
took...
mirror, look in the mirror, argue with yourself. I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
Honestly, I think it's
5th round, but same difference, Jose.
Maybe even take 2 running backs this year. Look, I love Javonte. Damn, man, he was one of my favorite draft prospects over the last couple of years.
No doubt. And I could see him landing in a spot like the Chargers or whatever and having a total renaissance, you know?
Sure. Yeah. I love Jaleel. I love what he's been doing recently, too. The room just has to get better.
100%, man.
So
100%. I don't think there's a... Well, people love to argue online, but I don't think there's much argument. While we're talking running backs, Jose was asking for a Genty comp, and he threw out MJD, which isn't a bad one. I think we've talked about him a little more as like a Bijan.
Yeah. How many...
bit more of a workload, but more tread on the tires. But
well, I think Bijan was probably a better receiver too.
Yeah.
I mean, Genty does have 80 career catches.
Yeah, and I think Genty's a slightly better power back.
For sure.
But I think they're not that far off. It's like really good contact bounce, really good like center of gravity, low to the ground, creative runners, great combination of power and speed.
Damn, a Genty comp? I haven't even really thought of that yet. That's a tough one.
Right back. Let's talk Ohio State's front 7 because it's hard not to be impressed with what they have done. And I mean, all those guys, we talked about D-line for the Broncos earlier. I think Tyleik Williams, the defensive tackle, who always seems to stand out for me.
I know.
91, it's just like, dang, that kid's talented. We don't talk about him enough. Sawyer has obviously had a really nice playoffs, and I think JT Tuamalu has played even better, frankly.
Yep. I mean, they've what Cody Simon, the linebacker, has done.
Oh my gosh,
especially against Oregon too.
Incredible.
Yeah, Tyleik Williams is the guy who's really impressed me in this run for them. He's just a monster down there, and it's kind of like that year they took Barron and Cooper. Just take a few of them. Why not?
Yeah, it's not a bad call. You're right. Yeah, it's a great point. It's a great point. In fact, they have a rotational edge. Oh no, I'm thinking Penn State, but that's another front where it's like, yeah, just Andrew Mugbuka, the former Clemson safety who's now playing at Texas and had the game clinching interception. He's really impressed me in that secondary with Barron. I think he's been a huge standout.
Yep.
And then, you know what? I've seen some places have Matthew Golden, the Texas wide receiver, ranked even higher than Isaiah Bond. He has that touchdown in overtime. And Matthew Golden is really damn good. Speedster.
Yep.
Low to the ground, like great contact balance. He feels like he'd be a really nice weapon in Denver as well.
I mean, he basically kind of won them the game. He was Ewer's go-to guy and just really took his game to another level. And I think ASU has a good secondary too. Like, I don't think that was him like beating up on one of the worst secondaries in the CFP or whatever, if you want to call it that. But
right, and it's all year. He's like outplayed Bond, all season long, Jake. So no, he's really. I mean, add him to the list of wide receivers we would be happy to drop in the Broncos' lap. We talked Donovan Jackson. Oregon's offensive line, I think if you go and watch that tape, the left tackle, Josh, my guy, who actually now he's in the top 20 of everyone's rankings and mocks. So I told you like 2 months ago. Johnny Cornelius, though, the right tackle, who coming into the season had way more hype, rough. It's not played well.
No.
So yeah, if I'm going to be a little alarmed by a O-line prospect in this class, he would be one of those. What do you say, Jake? Fire up Bet365 and look at some picks, my guy. These national semifinals.
Absolutely. Where are we starting, Dre?
Dej asking if Jalen Milroe would be a first-year starter. I mean, if you're doing this thing right, no, you should wait.
I would not feel comfortable having him lead an NFL team next year.
I wouldn't either. And I mean, Lamar, Jalen Hurts, those are guys that like only started towards the end of their rookie year,
right,
or even year 2.
Yeah.
I think he's a very comparable profile to them.
100%.
Notre Dame at Penn State. Somehow the Irish 1-point favorites in this, and they've got the flu going around.
Yeah.
Penn State leading in the prospect battle. I mean, that backfield, Aller, the Tyler Warren, obviously, all the talent on their defensive line, edges, D-line. Unfortunately, some of their secondaries injured. And yet the Irish are 1-point favorites, and they're missing some of their better players. It sounds like Howard Cross, the talented defensive tackle, will play. As we mentioned earlier, I'll be watching Mitchell Evans, their tight end, and I've always had a weakness for Riley Leonard, though he beat Georgia with less than 100 passing yards. How do you see this playing out? Because I'm at this point a little blinded by the light and all in on Penn State.
I really want to take Notre Dame.
Oh, I would love to take Notre Dame.
I think that they have probably the most well-rounded team in the playoff at this point. Maybe Ohio State's more explosive on offense. Maybe Penn State's better on defense. But in terms of being just well-rounded,
yeah, they're really well-rounded.
I like what I've seen from them. It's just the flu thing scares me a bit. And then Jeremiah Love, he got hurt at the end of that game against Georgia.
Huge.
It is massive. He has been practicing apparently, but he's still not. They're limiting him. So whether that's just trying to keep him fresh for tonight's game, or he's just not 100% healthy. He got initially injured against USC too. So this is not like a new thing. This is a lingering thing. That makes me scared, so I'm picking Penn State. Yeah,
I think they're a bit one-dimensional, and I think ultimately, I was telling Ryan, I'm being a bit facetious, but in a way they are like a Wisconsin and Iowa type team.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what James Franklin's built his bread and butter on, absolutely dominating those teams. It's Ohio State that gives them trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of Ohio State, at Texas, Buckeyes 6-point favorites. Buckeyes most talented team, Texas higher ceiling? What do you say?
Yeah.
Also, my God, Jeremiah Smith.
My gosh, yeah.
We've tried really hard to not just turn this show into a Ryan Williams, Jeremiah Smith, and wait our time, because we do this year round, and his time will come.
I mean, Arch Manning too, bro.
No doubt.
Do you think they stick with Quinn Ewers this entire game? Like, if Ohio State is up like 14-3 at the end of the first quarter, and Texas has 60 yards of offense, Quinn Ewers has only completed like 3 passes.
Here's what I'll say. If Arch is brought in, Texas is probably already lost.
That's a fair point too.
I think Texas's path is Ewers going off. Ewers doing that at Bama a year ago type performance.
I think I'm going to pick Texas against the spread. I think Ohio State wins.
I am too.
I kind of like how Texas matches up with them. I think they have the secondary to at least not allow Agbuka and Jeremiah Smith to run crazy.
Yeah.
I think they have the guys up front that can take it to Ohio State's offensive line.
Nice edge rushing rotation.
It's just Quinn Ewers. If he can just play reliably, not have stupid interceptions, just stay on schedule, I think that they can score and keep up with Ohio State.
Texas's injuries on the run game, this is where I worry that's going to kind of come to get him. But yeah, we agree 100%. Reef in the Toyota chat asking about Derek Harmon. We've talked about Derek Harmon year round. I mean, the Michigan State transfer at Oregon, number 55, I believe. He's just played phenomenally well this season. I love the kind of like pass rush impact he brings from the interior. We talked about like 5 different interior D linemen and didn't bring him up, but he is definitely a guy that's high on my list. And in the early 20s, I mean, he might be gone by that point.
Yeah, no,
that's how high I am on him. So
to have 5 sacks from that interior defensive line position is fairly rare. It's just that Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant are ahead of him, I think, at this point. So he doesn't get the love that he deserves so far, but he's been a wrecking ball this season.
100%. Any other thoughts, Jakester?
Take the Broncos money line this weekend.
Yeah, huh?
Yeah.
You're feeling it.
Yeah.
I went back and watched that Week 10 game from 23 where they upset the Bills, and I think it's entirely possible. The
Just Broncos
keep it close.
They are going to need some breaks. I mean,
you got to win the turnover battle. You got to win the big play battle. You know.
I mean, in that game that you're mentioning, the Monday night game from last season, they get the turnover to start the game. And then they have probably the best throw and catch of that season for the Russ hitting Cortland just right on the sideline of the end zone to get that touchdown. Like, those were massive moments in that game. You're going to need Bo to do something like that. You're going to need Cortland to probably do something like that. And you're going to need the secondary to create some turnovers. I mean, if Josh is going to run around, someone's got to hit him and get the ball on the ground.
Yeah, that rush plan is going to be key. I thought Vance in that game last year did a great job of always rushing 4 and dropping everyone else in, but rushing the 4 you wouldn't always expect. And then bringing some more exotic fronts. Like, I remember one NASCAR front where Cooper's rushing from the 3-tech next to Zach Allen.
Hell yeah.
And he's got Browning and Benito on the outside. Which you could do with Jonah Ellis this year, replacing Browning. So I think you're going to have to be creative. I think, some guys are going to have to make big plays. Like Marvin Mims is going to have a huge 100%. Game. Or Bo's going to have a huge game. Or for the first time in a long while, running back's going to have to go off.
Yeah.
Or, something like that.
If you get a big Jaleel game, I think that's the recipe for the Broncos to really put Buffalo in some trouble.
I mean, I think the run game could be a huge key. Yeah, they've got the O-line. So I know the Bills pass rush has looked good. But against an offensive line like this, I think that'll be a challenge that's different. And also, I think the quarterback runs play a huge part of this.
For sure, yeah.
I mean, how you can make those plays above the X's and O's when the pocket breaks down, when the pressure gets on you. Josh Allen and Bo Nix are phenomenal at that. And who can make the most big plays in that area is, gonna really make a huge difference. Yeah,
this was a great show, by the way.
Out number 1 sack team, number 1 least sacks allowed team, have met in the playoffs 6 times. The Sackers won every time.
I mean, we learned this lesson the hard way, 2013, 2015, right?
Yeah.
Good defense tends to beat out good offense.
With 63 sacks on the season, that's the 3rd highest total of any defense in the 2000s. So that's not too shabby right there. Jakester, thank you so much.
My man, Dre.
Shout out to our guys, Justin Michael, doing some great stuff on the Av side of things as well. So follow him. Give him lots of love. Henry Chisholm, this is Hank's season. He's got so much going on the Broncos side. Check out all his writing. Check us out the Friday, the Saturday pregame, the Sunday, the watch-alongs, the whole shebang. We are so happy to have some Broncos playoff football. And thanks to you, brother. Always some great work.
Yes, sir.
Across the board. So proud of everything you did
this
season on our Buff side, and so excited to take this draft pod to the moon this offseason.
All because of you, my man.
With all our picks. It's the best. Much, much love to you guys. from our guy, producer Riley Sorbo, and the rest of the crew. Best of luck. Go Broncos, baby.
We all silly like the mayor.